Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title, we're doing my big Barnes & Noble haul today. If you didn't watch my Christmas vlog, I told you guys I had around $200 worth in Barnes gift cards, so we're gonna be spending them all today. I'm also just in a really shoppy mood, so I think I might be hitting a couple clothing stores or maybe an Ulta, Sephora, whatever. I'll just be giving you a haul of everything I get today. My main focus is the books, of course. Also, just a disclaimer, this is kind of my first real time doing a vlog in public, so I'm kind of nervous to be filming. But I chose to do this on a Thursday, so hopefully things will be a little less busy. Anyways, enough of me talking. I know you just want to see the books, you just want to see the haul, so let's go. I'm gonna grab a coffee first and then we'll be on the road. Yay! Welcome back to my room. Okay, it's been a couple days, but I have my books and I'm ready to give you guys a haul as promised. I unintentionally got books that are all kind of a part of the same color palette, so I'll show you all of them stacked up. I also ended up getting 17 books. I got 16 in this one run that I did where you got all of the footage of me walking around and stuff. And then one of the books I used a gift card to buy a couple weeks ago, so I'm just including it in the haul. Here they all are together. You can kind of see there's a lot of blues and oranges. They sure do look pretty all in a stack like this. I absolutely love it. As for the breakdown, I got a couple series and then I got a couple books that go with other series I have purchased already. And then I got a duology and a couple standalones. With this Barnes trip, I was kind of looking for slow burn fantasies. I wanted to get a couple standalone fantasy books because I feel like a lot of the times I never want to get into a whole fantasy series, and that's the reason that I kind of put off reading fantasy books, but I love fantasy. So I got a couple books that I think fit. I'm gonna start off with the two books that I got that are part of two separate series I already have, and then I'll kind of go into the standalones and then the series that I got. So the first one is Bitter Burn by Sierra Simone. This is the third and final book in the Lioness trilogy. I have the first two books already. I haven't read them yet, but I've been looking out for this one because I knew that it was coming out soon. And as you saw in the clip, I was really excited to find this one. I had already been looking around a little bit and I wasn't able to find it. I thought it was more in the fantasy section, but it's actually closer to the romance section. So I guess I was just getting my genres a little mixed up. From what I know about this series, it's kind of a love triangle between a princess, her knight, and her betrothed prince that she's supposed to marry, and then it's kind of the journey of like the relationships that are formed and broken and built. Then I got Between Two Kings by Lindsay Straub. This is the second book, and I don't know if it's a long form series or if it's a trilogy, but I know it's an ongoing series. I picked this up. Really the only reason was because I got the first book with these beautiful sprayed edges and I saw that these ones had beautiful sprayed edges. So I'm really not a sprayed edge girly. I really don't care that much about special edition books, but I'm sorry, these were just too beautiful to pass up. Also, just the cover is so beautiful, and then paired with the sprayed edges, it's perfect in my opinion. And I saw that the first book in this new series, I believe it's called The Kiss of the Basilic, I got that one in the sprayed edges, and then I saw that they didn't have it in the sprayed edges for very long, and then they just like returned it back to the regular book. So I was like, well, might as well. I went and grabbed the first book in that series just so I could show you guys. This is it. Here's the sprayed edges on this one. And then here's them together. And then here's the top. Literally so pretty. You can't tell me otherwise. Moving on to standalones, I got The Wrong Heart by Jennifer Hartman. I love her books. I really, really love her books. I feel like the relationships that she forms in them are just really deep and easy reads, but not watered down, if that makes sense. From what I know about this one, it's basically about this woman who loses her husband and his heart is used for a heart transplant and another man. She's going through her own grief after losing her husband, and so she emails the person who received her husband's heart, and then she meets up with this guy and they kind of form a connection, and then she has to deal with the battle. Am I just forming a connection with him because I'm grieving the loss of my husband and I know that this guy has my husband's heart? Or am I forming a connection with him because I know that he's a good person and he's, you know, the next guy for me? Also, I keep saying from what I know about this book, that's because I really don't like to read the backs of the books. And some of these, I'm not even gonna try to tell you what they're about because I just didn't want to read the back. Obviously for the series, I'm not gonna tell you what each book in the series is about because I don't want to spoil anything for myself. I don't want to know what happens after the first book, but a lot of these I pick them up based off of authors that I love or covers. I know I'm not supposed to judge a book by its cover, but sometimes you can't help yourself. And then sometimes I just kind of get the basic knowledge off of some form of social media, so it sounds good, so I go and purchase the book without reading the back. I do this nowadays because I find a lot of the times the synopsises give away a good chunk of the book, and I don't want to be knowing things that are halfway and beyond in the book. I want to have the bare bones knowledge from like first couple chapters and then be able to enjoy a book from then. Continuing, I got Unnatural by Mia Sheridan. I love Mia Sheridan as well. I read a couple of her books, Archer's Voice being the first one I read by her, which was amazing. I absolutely love it. I have Unwanted by her, which is the same style of cover. I want to do more research to find out if this is an interconnected standalone series she's doing or if she's just kind of changing the way she's doing her covers to make them all cohesive. But either way, this one looks really pretty and very fall coded. From what I know about this book and then the other book Unwanted that I have, they're romance books obviously, but they're almost giving Where the Crawdads Sing, where they're out in the nature, out in the wild, and there's a lot of like beauty and depth found that way. I don't really know what the rest of this book is about, and I also, again, I didn't know if this was a part of a series, so I didn't want to spoil anything. Then I have The Second Death of the Lock. This is the one fantasy standalone book I got, and this is the one I was actually going to get when I had in my mind I wanted to pick up more fantasy standalones. I've seen a lot of people rave about this book, and then I saw Destiny Sidwell, one of my favorite YouTubers on here, read this one, and I think she, if I remember correctly, she had some mixed feelings about it, but overall she liked it. So I thought I would try it out. I worry a lot when it comes to standalone fantasy. You can't really build up a good in-depth world. Also, I heard a lot of good things about this one, that it wasn't too complicated, so there wasn't much world building needing to be made. This one is pretty much about a mage and how she is assigned to the king. I believe it's either the king or the prince of the kingdom. And they're kind of bound together by her magic. Then there's kind of some things that happen where I believe she goes to protect a child of an enemy kingdom. I'm looking at the back right now. She's no ordinary mage, but if she dies, then all of the magic within her dies as well, and the king will no longer be protected by her magic. There's a romance that forms in here, but I think that it's a lot of also fantasy packed. I also heard this one has a lot of pining, longing. It's very slow burn, which is exactly what I'm looking for, so that'll be great. The last standalone I got is My Dark Vanessa. Now, please do not be concerned for my well-being when you see this. If you're a big reader and if you know anything about this book, you know that it is definitely some heavy topics. I mainly picked it up because as an English major, I pride myself in being very diverse in my literature taste. Obviously, you see a lot of fantasies and romances and little like ditzy things in here, but I read a lot of deep stuff at school, and I get a lot of these books because I like having a breather from the deep stuff. But then also my personal taste, I really value reading things that are so real, but kind of under talked about in the literature world because authors are kind of scared to branch out in that way sometimes in fear of how their audiences will perceive them as an author. But I've heard really great things about this one. It's basically about a 15-year-old student who gets groomed by her 42-year-old English professor. Then in the future, they're still in contact. She's in her 20s at this point, and he basically gets called out for doing the same thing to another student. I'm pretty sure. Either he gets called out for doing the same thing to another student or to her. She gets kind of thrown into this position where she has to recall her past and figure out whether she actually was groomed or if she was consensual to a 42-year-old man. I think a really good topic in this is self-exploration and recalling things that you remember from your childhood and from your past. I'm in a psychology class right now for college, and so we're learning all about memory, recollection, and how that works in our day-to-day lives, and then also how memories can get distorted over time. So I'm really interested to read that one. Moving on to the 2 series I got the entire Rebel Blue Ranch series. I'm gonna be so for real. I know little to nothing about this series other than their interconnected standalones, and I've heard really great things about them. I heard that they're really easy reads. They're very small too. I mean, considering some of the other books I've seen, they're fairly small. So I feel like they'll be easy to get through. I've heard that they're very light and fluffy and that they're slow burn, which is again what I'm looking for. And then again, I know I shouldn't be judging by the covers, but I gotta show you these covers because that's the main reason I picked them up. I also picked them up because if you don't know, Barnes price matches to their website. So if you find something in store, their books are very expensive. Their books are normally $17 to $20 per book. These were $18 each, and I looked on their website and all of them were $13 on their website. So I was like, well, I might as well price match them and get them for way cheaper than I normally would. So that's the main reason I got all of these. And then also I've just heard good things about them. All the books in this series is Done and Dusted, Swift and Saddled, Lost and Lassoed, and Wild and Wrangled. I believe this series is completed, so that's really exciting that I have everything and I don't need to worry about going out and purchasing more books. Then I'm really excited for these 2. I got the first 2 books in the Crowns of Nyaxia series. I know that these are a duology, and then there's other duologies that are going to be a part of this series. I know there's also Six Scorched Roses. I literally can never say that name. That is a novella. And then there's another duology that I think is out right now, or at least one of the books in the duology is out. And she's planning to make it a longer series, but all batched into duologies. But to start off my journey with the series, I just got the first 2 books. The first one is The Serpent and the Wings of Night. And the second one is The Ashes and the Star-Crossed King. Star-cursed, I meant. Obviously, I'm not gonna look into what goes on in the second book because that would spoil what happens in the first. But from this first one, basically my understanding is it's Hunger Games meets Twilight. So it's like vampires meets Hunger Games, with there being one female human who's kind of in this Hunger Games. And then the human girl, she kind of pairs up with one of the strongest vampires. They form this alliance and kind of get through this. The competition is called the Kajari. So they kind of move through this together. And then I don't know, but I'm assuming that they get in a situation in the end where only one of them can win, but they're both left there together. Of course, they form a romance and all of that, so there's complicated feelings, and then also just trying to appeal to your family and trying to win this for your kingdom and your family. Lots of honor and fantasy and romance and everything, and vampires and literally everything that I could love in a book. So I've heard such amazing things about this series, and it was really popular on TikTok and social media and everything else for a reason. So I'm hoping that I enjoy it just as much. Another thing I really like doing is I like waiting a while for the hype to kind of settle down in a series or in a book, because then my expectations are a little bit lowered by the time I get around to reading it, because I'm not seeing it everywhere on social media and I'm not having these expectations that it's going to be incredible. Obviously, I have some expectations that these books are going to be good, but I feel like my expectations aren't as high as if they were currently circling around on social media. I'm so excited for this final series, and I genuinely hope I get around to it soon. But I finally got the Bridge Kingdom series. I know there's still one more book that is supposed to come out this year or next year for it, but obviously I don't think I'll be able to get through the series before it comes out. So I think I'll be ready and prepared by the time it does come out. I have literally been looking to buy this series for a year and a half or 2 years now, and I see nobody talking about it. It looks so good though. The people I do see talking about it when I actually search things up have nothing but good things to say about it. I've heard it's compared to ACOTAR, but also not. I don't know. I've heard it's very fantasy packed, but then there's romance and it's slow burn romance, which is great. I also think these books are similar to the Crowns of Nyaxae series I just showed you, where they're interconnected duologies. So like I know these two go together, and then these two, and then this one, and the one final book that's coming out. But I think all of them are in the same kingdom, and then I think all of the female main characters are connected in some way. Obviously, I don't know what all of these books are about, and I'm not gonna read what they're about because I don't want to spoil things. But for the first book that kicks off this series, it's basically about these two rivalry kingdoms that are trying to fight over ownership of this bridge that connects them. They have this war that's going on over who's gonna get ownership over the bridge, and one of the kingdoms proposes a marriage between the prince and the princess so that they can form an alliance and form peace. So the main character of this book, oh wow, oh that's shiny. I apologize for blinding you. Anyways, female main character, the princess, goes over to marry this prince so that their families can form this peaceful alliance. And she has this inner plan that she is going to assassinate the prince and destroy this other kingdom so that her kingdom can get ownership over the bridge and they won't have this war anymore. So instead of making a peace alliance, she has it in her head she is going to go and kill everyone over there so that her kingdom will get all the power. But of course, when she gets over there, she starts learning more about the war. She starts learning about all of the people in this kingdom, and she starts getting closer to her like betrothed husband now. And then she starts dealing with these internal thoughts of, am I still the hero or am I actually the villain in this scenario? And so she's put in this position at the end of the book where she has to decide between her kingdom or the new kingdom that she is started to fall in love with, and the prince that she started to fall in love with. I really don't want to blind you, but let me show you all of these covers because they're so beautiful and I love all of the chrome and detail and accents on them. Okay, I'm gonna tilt it down so you don't get blinded completely. But here's this one, the first one, the Bridge Kingdom. The second one in that duology, the Traitor Queen. I think that title right there tells me how the first book is gonna end. And then the first book in the second duology, The Inadequate Heir. Going with that one, The Endless War. And then a part of the final duology, The Twisted Throne. And again, there's another one coming out to pair with this one. All right, that's all the books I have to show you guys today. Lots and lots of books. It was so fun buying all of these and just taking my time in Barnes. I'm not even kidding you. I was in there for 2.5 hours. I spent over $300, but technically not. I only spent $50. So there's that. I only spent $50. The rest was in gift cards and Barnes points. So I got 17 books for $50. But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this haul and I hope you stick around for my other videos that are to come. I'll be doing some more college content, vlogs, book content, all that stuff. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your day. Thanks for sticking through this video and I hope you enjoyed the vlog. Bye guys!